presentation is very helpful to show that you can distinguish between money that's needed for CalTrain's modernization program and money that's needed to benefit high-speed rail. And it seems to me that any MOU should be just for the money that's needed for the connecting rail line. And I think that's where you get the distinction in the total amount of money. That Prop 1A has just under $1 billion. I think it's $985 million for connecting rail lines. But to be able to spend $1 billion in both the south and the north means that it includes things that are necessary for high-speed rail. So that's the distinction you make. I think the MOU should only be for the items that we have the money for listed. There is a draft agreement for Southern California, which is on the agenda this morning in high-speed rail. And high-speed rail staff recommends an amendment to it that says, in order to agree to this, Southern California agrees to the current plan to start the system in the Central Valley. So it's essentially a bribe, and we should be treated that way. It's a bribe to get us to agree to their Central Valley proposal, and we should only get the money that we need. There has been a study done by a contractor that shows that with the passing track, that situation they studied from Hayward Park to Redwood City, which is 5 stations, that they can do it in 37 minutes to 4th and King. But AB 3034 requires 30 minutes all the way to Transbay Terminal from San Francisco to San Jose. And the high-speed rail says in their business plan, the only way they can provide an adequate plan economically and the passengers they expect is with 4 trains per hour on the peninsula. And that doesn't work in what they've studied. Everyone talks about a blended system and not a 4-track system, but the proponents of the blended system understand it includes passing tracks. And if you have passing tracks in several locations, you're going towards a 4-track system. And for an EIR has to study feasible alternatives. So that means anybody can get, if they have to go to court, they'll do it, to get the EIR to study 4 tracks, whether or not, we don't want that. So I think all of those items that Councilman Burt mentioned are very important to get into an MOU. The CEO who's leaving, the lame duck CEO, claims that they can do 32 minutes from San Francisco to San Jose, but there's no evidence that they can even do 32 minutes, and they have to do 30 minutes. He wrote letters to a Deputy Attorney General, who's now the head of the Business and Tax section in the Civil Law Division, Assistant Attorney General Amy Wynn, to get an opinion about how long the EIR would take, whether the blended system would work. And he hasn't gotten a response, at least not publicly, because it was not a letter that's treated as an opinion of the Attorney General. So we should get that. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Hi, Nadia and I from CARD. At the risk of, stating the obvious, I think what Mr. Borak is saying is exactly on point, which is this is all predicated on beginning construction in the Central Valley with what both the independent peer review and the LAO have called an illegal funding plan. So, while we're sitting here contemplating the details of how this might work, and of course it would be great to help our local transportation, one of the reasons that OCTA has been having trouble signing their MOU in Southern California is exactly what he said, which is that you would have to agree to starting in the Central Valley. So I just want to be sure that we're keeping in perspective what this all means. I mean, in essence, we are being paid to be quiet. And I think, considering how long and hard we fought about whether this program makes sense for the state, how this looks as a business plan, how ridership is important, is something that we really need to keep in the back of our minds. At the same time, obviously, I agree that we need to position ourselves, because if the legislature still moves forward, then we're going to have to look at what that situation is. Also wanted to be sure that everyone's clear. The paper's talking about the fact that there's a new deadline change from the Obama administration and that the authority catches a break. It's actually not correct. That deadline was never true. Senator Smitty probed them on it in November, and basically the authority kept saying, well, we have to, and now they're admitting that, well, actually the deadline is really 2017. And again, the speed at which we're trying to be asked to get all this input now is because they're trying to rush the business plan so they can try to get the money from the legislature. But as always, it's this constant state of flux, and let's hurry up and let's hurry up. And let's just kind of keep in mind that we're being pushed to make pretty quick decisions on really big issues for a reason. And they're going to try to line up all the support. And we have to understand what that means statewide as compared to our position of what this plan is really doing for the entire state. So, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Morris Brown, Menlo Park. I just want to comment that this funding is all predicated that the High-Speed Rail Authority will grant the money. And the High-Speed Rail Authority has to work under the rules of Prop 1A. And Prop 1A has some severe restrictions on how money can be allocated. And in particular, they're supposed to build in usable segments for high-speed rail. Just electrification of CalTrain certainly does not make this a usable segment. They have to be able to, under any plan, under Prop 1A, be able to pass through all the stations at full speed. That would require passing tracks at the stations. They have to be able to make a system that the full corridor system would be able to go from San Francisco to LA in 2 hours and 42 minutes. There's no way in the world that that's going to be able to happen under this blended plan. And furthermore, there's a rule that the passenger that gets on the high-speed rail line has to be able to make any connection without leaving the train. And this plan here calls for going to San Jose if this thing is ever completed, having to leave the train and get on a CalTrain train to complete the trip to San Francisco. So there are lots of rules that the high-speed rail authorities should comply with that they're going to be unable to comply with if they grant this kind of funding. Nevertheless, there's a lawsuit right now against the funding on the high-speed rail ICS in the Central Valley, and that doesn't comply with the rules as well. But they seem to be of the frame that let's just ignore whatever's in Prop 1A, let's go ahead and do this. The meeting yesterday at the Larry Patterson's gang down there in San Mateo, I think they expected a lot of concurrence from the cities. Several cities in San Mateo County did not appear. Atherton, Menlo Park, and Belmont did not appear. And they were looking for some real concrete action. And one of the things I got out of this, and Mr. Hackler was at the meeting, you can concur or not, is that they're very unhappy with MTC leading the charge. All the cities seem to say, MTC is not the agency we want representing us. And I think that that's of a real concern there of what's going on. So I think that it's awfully premature. The other thing is, Seamus and I had a chat yesterday. This is all predicated upon local funds. If you read the ballot labeled of Prop 1A, the very top of the ballot, there was no mention, matching funds were to be provided by federal or private entities. There is no mention of local funding in that ballot measure. Nevertheless, I agree, inside of the streets and highway codes, there is a mention that local funds can be used. So there's a conflict even inside of Prop 1A. Can you use local funds? Because the ballot label said no. Inside the proposition, they said it could be used. Thanks.
Thank you. Seamus, do you have any responses to the members of the public? Or?
I mean, there were a lot of issues that were getting thrown around, and a lot of them are legal issues that are various people's interpretations of Prop 1A. I think we have responses to a lot of those concerns and how this incremental investment option would be consistent with Prop 1A. That's something that we're very conscious of, and I don't want to address each one of those concerns separately. I don't think we have enough time here. I certainly don't to go through that. But I'm happy to talk to members of the public separately, one-on-one, and go through those issues, or if members of the council want to go through those issues one by one, we're happy to do so. And the point about the Attorney General not ruling on the consistency of the blended system with Prop 1A is really the overarching one, and it's something that we're very conscious of. And if an opinion was issued that was not the right opinion, we think that the blended system is consistent with Prop 1A, because Prop 1A calls for the project to be designed to achieve certain things, not requiring that the actual operation of the corridor be consistent with those travel times and headways and the like. But if the Attorney General was to issue an opinion that was counter to what we believe the blended system requirements are, then that would be problematic. for the scope of the project on the peninsula would be problematic for our desire to work with you to limit the project to just the blended system. And so I think that's something that we all need to think about and maybe strategize about how to go through what we're doing here, and if there's an agreement that early investment would be valuable for the Peninsula Corridor that electrifies CalTrain and gets us some of those benefits without burdening the cities with additional impacts and without making assumptions about what the eventual high-speed rail project would look like, then there are certainly legal questions that we should all try to be on the same page on. So,
Did you have any word from the AG's office as to when they're going to issue their opinion?
no word. They've been very silent on that issue. Members of Congress have asked about the timing of that opinion and been met with similar silence. So it's an issue that we still need to work on. Yeah.
You have to run, or you want to stick around?
I do have to run. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
We will, someone will get in touch with you as to whatever else comes out of this meeting, and we will proceed accordingly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.